last December and January, man, was it like 20 different players had to deal with that flu bug that you dealt with that took Bulaga out of the Seattle playoff game? Is that experience in the back of your mind every day now that you guys have to go through these COVID procedures?
No, to answer your question, I did think about it, and I did wonder if that was COVID, and I have no problem answering that. It was not. I was able to find evidence on that. The reason why I'm not worried about it is because we weren't prepared as we are now. I think the NFL and the NFLPA did a great job designing how we were going to operate football in the 2020 season with the coronavirus. And I think I feel a lot safer, myself and everyone around us, with, anything from our face masks, face shields, hand sanitizer everywhere, or the awareness, and also the protocols and standards that we have even to enter the building. So with that, I do feel safe, and I don't really question that as it pertained to the end of the last season.
Just wondering, you having played at the Pac-12, if you had any thoughts on the decision by the Big Ten and the Pac-12 to not play football or any fall sports this fall, and what you thought about the feasibility of a college football season in the spring if some conferences were to decide to do that.
That's tough. I did just hear about it. Man, I feel for those kids. I mean, the hard thing that, I think all of us understanding is that it's affecting everyone. We want to think of our own individual circumstance that we're dealing with, but as you can see, everyone in their own way, to own capacity, is dealing with it one way or another. I don't have an answer. I don't have all of the signs. I just wish that, they would have the, type of organization that we do in the NFL to come to some sort of agreement and have the certain standards so they could operate, because as we are experiencing right now, being the NFL, we are operating, going through this pandemic and still playing football. So it is feasible.
Do you think about legacy? We've asked Rodgers about his legacy, 6 ways from Sunday over the years. How about yours as a 4-time All-Pro, and you've built quite a legacy? I mean, you're talking maybe, I think even Aaron mentioned even Hall of Fame last year. Do you think about that stuff even on a quiet day in July or June, whatever?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Have I? Absolutely. But I don't live in those thoughts, because in order to make those thoughts a reality, I have to conquer the day, not the week or the year. I don't think that big. You got to start micro in order to make it a macro thought, a macro dream. So, I mean, I just try to be the best I can every day. That's just really kind of been me. It's kind of cheesy, but hey.
Za'Darius, I know you talked a little bit about it on the NFL Top 100 thing. When you guys first signed him, how much did you know about him? And now that you get to go up against him in camp and one-on-ones and in practice, how much of a better player does he make you?
It's funny. I try to recall playing against him, because I have played Baltimore and I have faced him. And I do remember, it's this big, broad guy, kind of different for the position that he's playing out there. And he get a couple rushes. I'm like, it's annoying. And being annoying as being a defensive player is good. Anytime you're annoying on the football field, you're doing something pretty good. So I remember that, and then he just always would just run off. I'm like, I just never thought anything of it. And then when we sign him and going against him every day, day in and day out, it's fantastic, because he constantly presses certain things that even in myself, no matter how good you can ever get, you can always learn, you can always get better, you can always refine something, and even learn something new. And that's the beauty of the NFL. It's a very humbling league, and you really constantly have to reinvent yourself year in and year out. It's been fantastic. He's been a great signing. He's been a great guy in the locker room. He's been a great guy to line up against. He's a great presence for the defense, and overall, just been a pleasure to have.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for doing this again, and congrats on the engagement as well.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you quick, kind of following up on Bill's question. You look at everything you have accomplished in 7 years, and I was looking at your bio today. I didn't really realize you're still only 28. Do you see there being another level yet that you think you can reach in your game and where you want to take this thing now in year 8?
Yeah, I guess addressed before. You're constantly reinventing yourself every year. For me, I have my own personal goals that I'm constantly changing and adding to, that I want to achieve and that I want to become. And I love the game. Strictly for myself, like you said, I'm 28. It's something I have fun with. That's why I love joking around, bouncing around all day, being with the guys in that locker room environment. I came in when I was 21 years old. It's something that I cherish and I appreciate. So when I'm done playing, I can truly say, I gave it everything, even my jokes, even my effort. So when I do hang up and I do eventually leave this place whenever, leave the game whenever that may be, the number one thing I want to do is I don't want to look back with any regret on how my attitude was on a certain day, on how I played a certain game, and how I presented, myself in a daily capacity. I definitely want to, when I do look back, just smile and be like, yeah, I had a great time.
So last time you were with us, you mentioned you did expect a bit of a jump in the offense in year 2. I guess specifically the wide zone run game. I mean, last year you guys talked about the need for time and continuity and feeling the running back pressing the heels. Obviously, you've had none of that yet. So can you get to where you want to get to, or where you thought you might get to with that scheme in this condensed period?
Absolutely. Reason being is because we've already been exposed to this offense. There wasn't as much of a learning curve, especially for the guys who have been exposed to it the last year. So it's obviously catching up the young guys and the new guys, get them up to speed and going. But I mean, for the guys returning on this offense, we kind of hit the ground running. I mean, there's a little bit of a refreshing period of remembering how we do certain things, but I mean, I can definitely say we're coming along pretty nice, and it's going to continue just to climb.
Football is never really clean in September, even with preseason games. Do you guys care if it's really clean this September, or are you just going to be happy to play?
I can't predict the future. I don't know if that really pertains to the regular season, because if you even take last year, for example, I maybe took 15, 20 plays. And if you could tell me if 15, 20 plays get me in the preseason, get me ready to go for the regular season, I think more of the practices and being in the facility and working with the guys Monday through Saturday definitely gets me more prepped. Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't emulate regular season unless being in the regular season.
What do you think the strength of the offensive line is this year, and why?
It's a good question. Our strength, I would definitely say our versatility and our athleticism. Two things that, because we've only been back together for 2-3 weeks. I think we have a lot of versatility on the offense line. I think a lot of guys can play multiple places. And I'll even throw in a little continuity we have 5 new rookies. Obviously, Ricky's new to the room. Ricky's gone really well. He's a very sharp guy. He's kind of been exposed to a little bit of how this offense is, and he's really not really missed a step. Hasn't really shown up a lot, even with the mannerisms we do when he is working with Aaron. Not seeing him, show up in a negative way. So that is a very positive thing, because I know specifically when we're talking about offensive linemen, you generally are being noticed when there is something bad that's happening. So the fact that he is going unnoticed is a good thing. But as our strength, continuity and athleticism, I mean, our coach harped on it and how he wants our certain weights to be to obviously run the outside zone. And, we got some wheels now.
No, I am curious, though. You did come in as a little bit of a difficult guy in terms of how to deal with us. I don't know what it was like with your teammates, but you have become this very outgoing, personable, energetic leader in the locker room, obviously all-pro player on the field. And I'm wondering how long it took you to become comfortable in your own skin to be that guy that you are now.
That was a lot to take in. I'm going to address as we go along and answer your question. I think for starters, you have a very extensive vocabulary, and I will never question your education. When I came in here, I was a 4th rounder, and I knew my place was speak when spoken to and talk with my actions, not with my words. That was what I wanted to prove to my teammates. I never wanted to lead from the back and with my mouth. I wanted to lead with my actions in the front. And you know the type of characters that I walked into the room in 2013. There was no chance that I would ever out character them, and I knew right in line that I was going to follow in line until it was my time. So my biggest thing is never stepping on anyone's toes, regardless of where I send to. So this personality, you see more and more that comes out. Even with Brian here, I wanted to be known even to him right away that you're the leader of the offensive line room, regardless of the accolades that have come my way. And I am going to just, whatever you say, I have your back on. So with that, as I've grown, and shown, I have then now spoken more. And I think that comes back to, when I was a rookie, Clay Matthews said to me, the better you play, the more you can talk. I took that literal and I took it to heart.
I do want to ask you about your rookie year, though, in a different way. You've got 3 rookies in your room this year, and they have no off season, they have no preseason, and they have no real training camp. I mean, you guys will be in pads, but it's not going to be the same as a typical training camp either. I'm wondering how crucial that was for you, because you played right away and started at a really hard position, and what you think those guys are up against given the conditions that they're walking into.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, everyone's facing their own challenges with the pandemic that we're experiencing. So, especially pertaining to the 3 rookies, the lack of exposure to the offensive line room, the lack of reps being together with all 11 of us, is going to be tough. But this is a profession that, we don't really have a whole lot of excuses, regardless of how you feel, regardless of whether you're even sick or not. If you suit up, you put the pads on, you go out there, we expect a certain standard, not only as players, but also fans, people who watch the game. The best advice I can give to them is, I don't think I have seen people get faulted even though they go 100%, but I mean, you just got to try your hardest. When you have your opportunities, make the most of them. I've appreciated each one of these guys because they've come in and there has not been a lot of pushback. They've done what they've said, that what they've been asked to do, both from the coaches and from the veterans of the room. And that speaks volumes to them, of buying into the room, buying into the offense. And they're working. Like, as we're doing our condition, I'm seeing each one of them work hard, and that shows a lot, because especially for me, I look at how's a guy working, especially when he doesn't even know I'm watching him. And I can say I definitely appreciate their work ethic so far.
Going back to what I led off with about your legacy earlier, when did you know that you could be great? I mean, I know you all have that belief, but at some point you probably have to play to that level before it really hit you. Was it right away? Was it later in your career when you realized that you were more than just an adequate starter or a good starter, but an absolutely fantastic one?
I think a lot of guys, I'll start this off. One, yeah, you have to have that mindset. If you put a cap on yourself, you put a ceiling on yourself, you're never going to break through that. I never looked at a cap or a ceiling of what I was. I just said, I'm going to be the best version of myself every day. I'm going to come in and constantly reinvent myself, and I'm going to work on the next day. I'm going to stack those up. And for me, you talk about when did I realize I was great? It's more, I'm going to do what I believe in myself to be the best, and I'll let the people outside talk for me. So when everyone else is calling you great, then that's something special. When you're just saying, oh, I'm going to be great, comes off kind of arrogant at times. And again, everyone's different. This is how I feel about it. It comes off a little more arrogant and not as authentic. But when other people's ideas of you is greatness, then I think that's where you start having something special. I have never had one time Aaron ever tell me he's great. My opinion of him and how I've seen him work every day has justified to me say that is a man that is great at his craft and who he is, and he does it every day, every week, every year, and hopefully more than one decade.
When we spoke to you back in June, you described the challenges you faced early in the pandemic as a creature of habit to do your off-season training. When so much of what you do as a professional athlete is based on having a regimen and a schedule, what do you have to rely on in your arsenal of tools, knowing that the schedule could be halted or rearranged at any point?
The first thing that pops in my mind is one of the sayings that Matt LaFleur says. He says, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable." That was one of the first few things he said to us when he joined this football team. And one of the first things he did was in the team meeting room was have us switch seats. Right away, as a creature of habit, and I have no problem admitting it, I was flustered. But I had to get comfortable with it. And at the end of the day, speaking in the grand scheme of things, no one really cares about your excuse. It is all about the production. So everyone in this building is not going to care about what happened for the 6 months we had off. They expect us to come in shape, strong, mentally ready to go, physically healthy. I expect that of myself, and I have to find any which way. And at times, was it challenging? Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, also being a creature of habit, I also am a creature of finding a way and getting things done, because we are a results business.